Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're stripping away all those idealistic, kumbaya vibes and the endless hype to give you a pragmatic, maybe slightly sobering survival guide to actually building a decentralized autonomous organization. If you've ever thought about gathering people online, pooling your money, and building something without a traditional CEO, well, this is exactly what you need to hear.
All right, let's kick this off with a pretty harsh reality check. 90% of DAOs are currently dead, or they're basically operating as aimless zombies. Why? Because time and time again, founders prioritize token hype and flashy launch announcements over the actual legal and operational mechanics. They set up the fun parts and completely ignore the plumbing.
And honestly, this brings us to the absolute core theme for today. Code is easy, but coordination is insanely hard. A bulletproof smart contract is absolutely not going to save you if your project lacks legal armor, a functional treasury, and a reliable way to mitigate human drama. Getting 10,000 strangers to agree on a Discord server is a human problem, it is not a code problem.
So here is our survival roadmap for this explainer. 1. Do you actually need a DAO? 2. Legal shields and getting your treasury set up. 3. Designing your governance system. 4. Daily operations and avoiding the drama. And finally, 5. The end game, where you either scale up or dissolve.
Okay, part 1. Do you really need a DAO?
The blunt truth we found in the source material, most DAOs simply shouldn't exist. I mean it. Before you write a single line of code, you need to realize that for most projects, you're honestly better off just using a 3 of 5 Gnosis safe or a standard LLC and an active Discord server. Real DAOs are incredibly complex. They're slow, and they are super expensive to run properly.
So let's put it to the test. To pass, you've got to answer yes to at least 3 of these 5 questions. Are you sharing more than 10 grand with strangers? Is the project going to last longer than 6 months? Do you have more than 20 anonymous members? Is there a generally low level of trust among the group? And can members just exit anytime with their funds? If you're scoring 0 to 2 here, you are literally wasting money. Just form a regular company or use a basic multi-sig wallet.
Now there is a super clear dividing line here. DAOs are incredible for protocol governance, transparent grants, and managing big social treasuries, but they are absolutely terrible for startups that need to move fast, manage trade secrets, or deal with physical world assets like real estate. The golden rule to remember: if a traditional CEO would help your project move faster, do not build a DAO.
All right, part 2. Legal shields and treasury setup. You know that classic crypto mantra, code is law? Yeah. Well, that completely evaporates the second a government regulator actually sends you an email. If you operate without a legal entity, the law technically views you as a general partnership. And what does that mean? It means devastating personal liability. The courts proved this in the Uki DAO precedent, where token holders were held personally liable. You absolutely have to wrap your organization in a legal entity.
Look, dropping $1,500 on a lawyer in week 1 is going to save you like 150 grand in litigation later on. It's a no-brainer. You need an entity, maybe a Wyoming DAO LLC or a Cayman Foundation. You'll also need compliance tools to KYC contributors earning over $600. And critically, you need fiat rails, because guess what? You can't pay your AWS bill or your lawyers in Ethereum. Finally, issue those 1099 tax forms or you're honestly facing severe real-world jail risk.
When it comes to your day 1 treasury setup on a Gnosis safe, the absolute fastest way to kill your project is to hold 100% of your native token in the treasury. Think about it. If the price drops 90%, your runway hits 0 and you're dead in the water. You must hold a 50-50 split of stables like USDC and blue chips like ETH. You have to retain at least 2 years of operating runway and stablecoins so you can actually survive the bear markets.
Moving right into part 3, designing your governance system.
We really need to talk about voter apathy. Did you know average voter turnout in DAOs is a dismal 2%? I mean, that's practically nothing. Because of that, standard token-weighted voting only works if you use a system of delegation. This is where token holders pass their voting power to, say, 20 compensated experts who actually run the day-to-day. It functions very much like a governing senate.
So, check out this 19-day voting pipeline. It's basically the gold standard for major decisions. You're looking at 7 days of forum discussion, a 3-day temperature check on Snapshot, and then a full 7-day on-chain vote with a 48-hour time lock, just so people can exit if they absolutely hate the result. But keep in mind, this whole process is slow. Smaller operational spends under $10,000? Those should bypass this pipeline entirely through a quick 3 of 5 council vote. Seriously, don't vote on everything.
It's all about balancing safety and speed here. If you set those quorums way too high, like Uniswap requiring 40 million tokens, progress just stalls entirely. But on the flip side, lacking a 5 of 9 emergency multisig leaves your protocol wide open to immediate, fatal drains from hackers. You must be able to pause a hack in under an hour, which means, yes, accepting a tiny bit of centralization for the sake of your security.
All right, part 4, daily operations and avoiding drama. If you try to rely on pure bounties where random people just pop in to do one-off tasks, it's going to lead to absolute chaos because nobody actually takes ownership. Instead, the majority of your budget, around 60%, needs to fund dedicated, salaried core units. These are basically your internal departments, and they should be paid in USDC with milestone vesting to ensure nobody just takes the money and rug pulls the whole project.
Here's a really hard truth for a lot of folks. Discord alone will literally kill your DAO. Important info gets lost and drama just spirals totally out of control. To run smoothly, you have to implement a strict operational stack. You need Discourse for formal decisions, Notion for a single source of truth, weekly recorded calls, and aggressive moderation using on-chain roles to ban bad actors before they destroy your culture.
And finally, part 5, the endgame. Are you going to scale or dissolve? So here are your win-down triggers. If your runway drops below 6 months, if voter turnout just dies, if the founders walk away, or if you get a very scary letter from the SEC, it is time to stop. If you hit any of these metrics, do exactly what TribeDAO did before successfully refunding its $80 million. Just use a snapshot vote to dissolve the entity and refund the treasury pro rata to your holders. Do that instead of slowly bleeding out and becoming a zombie.
This timeline right here? This is exactly why launching a token on day one is a massive, massive red flag. Real survival requires a strategy called progressive decentralization. You start out centralized in year 0 to actually find product market fit. Then you slowly, carefully transfer power to the community over 3 years, only introducing a token and on-chain governance at the very end of the process.
Looking ahead, the data from our sources suggests that by 2030, the pure DAO concept is going to be incredibly rare. The future actually relies entirely on hybrid models. You'll likely see a traditional, fast-moving company building the software interfaces, while a slower, much more deliberate DAO governs the underlying protocol and the treasury itself. You get the best of both worlds, speed where you need it, and trustless governance where it matters.
Now, let's say your organization does survive and it grows to 1,000 people. Well, congratulations, but you're going to hit fatal bureaucracy. To scale effectively, you have to break the monolith down into smaller autonomous sub-DAOs or pods. We're talking agile, 5 to 9 person teams with their own specific budgets to ship fast, all funded by the parent DAO.
I'm going to leave you with this ultimate test of your survival. Just look at your project and ask yourself, if the core founders walk away tomorrow and the multi-sig signers step down, does the system keep running? If it completely collapses without you, well, you haven't actually built a decentralized organization yet. So I have to ask, what are you really building? Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and I genuinely hope this helps you build something that truly lasts.